try to go around from building to building and try to show you some of the things that we believe are some very critical issues in terms of going ahead in the future, and it's one of the reasons why why our board and our citizens committee have decided to go ahead and put a new elementary building on the ballot on November 2nd. So again, welcome. Thank you for coming in. We're going to begin in this building. This building is well maintained as it is here. I'll give kudos to our buildings and ground staff. They're keeping things up the best they can with the resources that we have, but there are some critical things that are in need of being addressed, so we're going to work on that. I'm going to mention several items right up front here, and then we're going to go and move through the building and around the outside, and then we'll move building to building. In this building, one of the issues is on the outside area, and we'll catch that as we come around. The wood fascia on the gym and a lot of the other wooden fascia areas are deteriorating. They would be best replaced by, you know, the newer aluminum type fascia and soffit, things like that, or steel that would hold up. We had some painting done. It's been quite a few years ago now. Our maintenance and ground staff has been reduced to the point where we can't get that painting all done ourselves anymore, and consequently we need some help with that. This building, we're going to step into the boiler room for those that want to see it. There are two boilers in there. This happens to have the newest boiler. It was put in the 90s, so it's only 10, 12 years old. There is a second boiler in there that we're decommissioning right now. We couldn't get it passed anymore. It was an original old boiler and so on, and that was being used as backup up until the last couple of years. And so now we have the single boiler here, and if we have a problem with that, during the day or something, we'd have to close school down until we can get people in to fix the boiler. The other thing about this boiler is that we don't have a good control system where we would have any other buildings, which right now isn't operating the way it should be either, and it would take some major upgrades to that. But there's no way of setting like night controls and things like that so that things shuts down in the evening and so on, and then it comes back up when it's going to be occupied and so on. So that's one of the things that we would be looking to help us with, because that's an energy saving item, obviously. You'll see throughout the building some of the tile floors and so on. Now, this floor has been replaced, and we're fortunate. We're in here at the start of school. These floors are stripped and waxed and really redone during the summer, and they look beautiful. Right now, of course, you see some black skid marks and stuff, but as you can see, some of our tile is breaking up in this area and so on, and across here it needs to be replaced. In several of the buildings, we still are showing 9x9s, and the 9x9 tile, of course, are the very old style, and those are assumed to be asbestos containing, and so when you do anything with those, you have to go through all of the control measures to keep the asbestos from becoming friable and so on, there's quite a few laws that we need to comply with to make that all happen. So you'll see that in other areas as well. The ceilings in this building, here's a good example. This is a tile ceiling, and you can see that they're damaged and so on, and that's just the right height for our 5th and 6th graders to see if they can make knuckle prints and things like that. But one of the things with ceilings is in this corridor here, you can see that it's the tile, and those are in need of some work and replacement. But the other thing that's against us in a lot of the buildings, and this is particularly important over at Ryan, you'll see that, is that much of the ceiling is steel decking. And this steel decking, the only way to really run new piping and things like that is almost everything is exposed and surface mounted. So as you can see right above your heads there, we've got a lot of exposed piping and so on that we didn't have originally in this building, but it's come about because repairs needed to be made. So I didn't expect practice to come out, but anyway, that's all right. Maybe it's a good time for that, because one of the things I wanted you to see is in the gym here. This gym's been around a very long time, and the floor is still in fairly good shape as far as the finish, because the guys refinish it once a year and so on. But we're getting some humps and bumps in there. If you are a basketball player, or whatever, and you go to dribble underneath the basket and the ball, instead of coming straight up, goes that way, that can present problems. So there are some areas there that need some help. Also in there, besides the humps and bumps, the painting. To paint a gym like this costs quite a few $1,000s, and we did it, I want to say about 10 years ago or more, and it's probably in need of it again. And so again, there's quite a need in terms of that. Our stage and our locker rooms here are not handicap accessible. When this building was built, that wasn't one of the major ADA things or anything like that that you had to deal with. So our locker rooms are down a flight of stairs. Our stage is up a short flight of stairs. And we do have children that we have to accommodate in some fashion to make that work for them. And that's not always the easiest thing to do, but they're no longer handicap accessible. We've got an office area right here behind you a little bit, and that's an area that has been carpeted and so on. It's really worn and so on, to the point where that's going to need replacement. We also have power issues in our all-purpose room, and also in the kitchen here. Our kitchen here is not a production kitchen. It's a small area, and it's got some warming ovens and so on, and that's about it. But we're having to produce our food at the Ryan School for this building, and then they carry that across town and bring it here, keep it warm, and serve it here, as opposed to if we had a single building with a single kitchen and everything. So that is another drawback. We have things in this building because it's centrally located. It's got the gym and all. For example, Halloween's coming up soon, and the spooks come in. And every year we have issues with power in the cafeteria and so on, because it's not strong enough to accept all the kinds of things. They have roasters and crock pots and all that kind of stuff to plug in, and so it's very difficult to accommodate them. Next thing you know, we pop a breaker or something in there, and so it's an inconvenience. But not only that, we've also had times where the community does use our buildings. They sign them out and so on. We've had someone come in, and because of the noise level, because our, like I said, our refrigeration equipment and milk coolers and things like that are not in what we would call a kitchen per se. They're out in our all-purpose room, and they do create quite a bit of noise, and compressors and so on there. So if anyone comes in to use that building and that facility, a lot of times they'll shut something off with the idea, well, we'll just have our meeting, it's quiet, and we'll turn it back on. Well, 2 or 3 times in the last 5 years, we've lost food and things because those breakers have been tripped and then they have to turn back on. It's just not a convenient thing. The computer lab down the hall that you're going to get to visit, we're looking at wire management issues. With today's technology, it's very difficult to have all of the computer cabling and all of the electrical wiring and everything in a nicely managed situation. So we've got issues there with power as well. We have used from time to time, now this year, I don't believe we're using the corner classroom at the end of this hallway down here, but that classroom, the last time we remodeled here, well, I shouldn't say, yeah, classroom. It was being used as a classroom, but it really, we got it passed, but it's really not in compliance with fire safety issues because right now, it has one doorway that enters into the hall, but another doorway that enters into another classroom, and it really has no exposure to outside light. There's a single window in there, and by putting that window in, we were able to meet fire code because it could be an escape route, but it's just not conducive to having a good classroom in there with no outside ventilation. The other thing is, this committee went through lots and lots of difficult thinking, decision-making, a lot of discussion and so on regarding this site, because this gym is very important to us. It's used by the community, it's used by our junior high teams and so on, and it's very difficult to think about giving this gym up. And of course, Chicago Street, this is the site of the old high school way back when, so it's difficult to think that this wouldn't be here anymore. But one of the problems is having been made into an elementary school is that it's just not conducive to having a good playground here either for elementary kids. And when we walk the outside, you'll see that that's the case. Not much space. We also have parking issues when we do take a look at that. Also, we have underneath this basket, this has been repaired several times. There are some